we always have to start with pulling lists. I get more questions on list pulling, and you guys know exactly how we're gonna run and work this.
All right, let's go find some wholesaling deals. So let's kind of go over exactly how to find a deal. So I get a lot of people asking me, just getting started, how do I find a deal? How do I have my marketing? And I have pretty much run most successful people that I call successful, people that do the first 100K, that's the main point of this event, through this entire marketing system. So this is a system of finding wholesaling real estate deals. So let's kind of talk about the first thing. It's the list. What is a list in wholesaling real estate? A list is basically a data set of potential properties and owners that have probably a 50 to 100x better chance of selling their house. There's a big difference between me going to Orlando and just pulling properties and going to a list of Orlando homeowners that have a 50 times more likely point of selling. These are people usually that have a better chance of wanting to sell their house than the average person. These are motivating factors making the property distressed and or ugly. Now, what makes a list, what makes a person more willing to want to sell the property than not? Well, we kind of learned today with Jen, a referral's pretty good, but there's some other ones, right? What I have found in 2,500 wholesaling deals, there are two categories of why it turned into being a wholesaling deal. Number one, the property is distressed, which means the house was ugly. You don't need to be an expert to know if a house is ugly or not. Number two, they had a situation that was distressed. So distressed property or a distressed seller. So let's kind of go over the differences between these two. Now, distressed property is easy. I think anybody knows what an ugly house looks like, but just in case you don't know, if the house has broken windows, it's pretty ugly, right? The house becomes abandoned, no one's living in it. I think about 10% of all homes are abandoned. No one lives in it, they're vacant. This is from the United States Postal Service. So when you get mail, you pick it up. But if no one starts picking up the mail, the United States Postal Service actually puts a green slip in Florida, and they put vacant. And you can actually get that database if you're a nonprofit. Actually, we have a workaround how to get it, and you can get a list of that. House has bad foundation, it's a hoarder house. I've been through a lot of these. Mold properties, house has a leaky roof, outdated, hurricane hits it. Anything to make the house ugly, rats, bugs, termites, just something that's bad, right? These are what we call a distressed property. These are just ugly looking houses. And if you're driving for dollars, this is my $3,000 Drawing for Dollars course. That's it. So distressed situation, this is actually a little better because a distressed property, like it screams out, but sometimes the property's distressed, but the person still doesn't want to sell it. That is the main issue I found. So usually seller behind on their taxes or mortgage. That's a great way to find somebody that wants to get rid of their house for a discount. They're not paying their taxes. And if they're not paying the mortgage, the bank takes the property over, so they have to sell. Death probate, you've probably heard it a lot. This is me and Rick's personal favorite one. I think anybody in here that has made over 60 grand on a deal has done it through a probate. Probate is the biggest motivating factor. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest reason, somebody dies, well, usually old person from New York, they move down to Florida, and they have a house that has zero sentimental value. When somebody dies and they're trying to sell grandma's house and they lived in grandma's house and that's where they grew up, they have this thing called sentimental value that they want more for the house because it's sentimental. When grandma moves, when she was 75 to Florida, there's no sentimental, they don't visit her, and they don't really care about the house. So there's no sentimental value and they just want to get rid of it. Person wanting need to move, change his job, people behind on the credit cards. It's a great list to get. Tired landlord, evictions. I think me and Rick have our fair share of eviction stories. There's some crazy ones, but yeah, there's just people in general. They destroy houses. Divorce, that happens a lot, financial issues. And what I usually say in wholesaling is everyone's like, well, are we ever gonna run out of deals? I'm like, well, if people are born, they are kind of destined to die. Not a bad thing to say, that should motivate you. But when you're born, that means usually somebody died, right? If there are ever people that have financial issues, it's just happening more and more. Do people get divorced? Do people cheat on their spouse? Every day. And not a good thing, but it happens every day. Are people destroying houses and not paying the rent? Yes. So as long as these situations happen, we're gonna make money wholesaling. And that's kind of the cool part about it. So how do I find so we know what makes a good list. How do I find the best areas for a list? Now, without really explaining on slides and making it good, if I can only have one sentence to tell you, Zach, I'm in blank city, where should I wholesale? With 95% accuracy, I can tell you, If you can go to a city, find the cheapest house relative to the lowest crime rate, that is where the best area for wholesaling real estate is. And so the best way I can describe this is if you ever grew up with like friends and the parents were like car mechanics, they were teachers, bus drivers, like, very like blue collar, hardworking people that would never commit a crime, right? Like very nice people that grew up lower middle class and they bought a house. That's where you want to be at. It's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, right? It's not really preppy, but it's not like in the really bad area of town. It's just working class people, right? That is the best area for wholesaling real estate because those houses are actually the most in demand for first-time home buyers. So you think of 26, 27-year-olds that just got their new corporate job, they have 2 years W-2, now they're looking to buy their first house, 3% down payment. They're not looking to buy the $600,000 house. They want a 3-bedroom, they just got married and they're excited to go. That is where they're looking to buy, and those people will pay the most. That is where I get the most overbids on my houses. First-time home buyers, that they want to get the most, that's the area. But we can get kind of more in the deep details on it, what makes a good market. In my opinion, the market is almost as important as the marketing. So we've had some people in here that have had some insane struggles in their market, and I tell them, hey, just row in a different river. A lot of people are rowing upstream. I think one of the best examples is Evan. He's on a phone call right now. But he was struggling really bad in Western Pennsylvania, like really bad. He's working so hard, he just can't get anything. And then I'm like, well, why don't you just try Detroit and change everything? Heck, Yvonne's like that too, right? Sometimes Yvonne's a good example because she was rowing so hard, and just getting nowhere. She was rowing upstream. And I'm like, why don't we just try a different river? And she did the same effort and boom, it all worked. So sometimes the market is the thing too. So what makes a good wholesaling market? For anyone watching this, are you in a good market, bad market? This would pretty much answer it to you. It's a deals to wholesalers ratio. That is it. So how many wholesaling deals are available in a market versus how many people are in that market? So does anybody here know where the most wholesaling deals in the country are on a monthly basis in the entire United States? Houston, Texas. It is, so I think I've told some people today, a lot of people think, New York, right? That's the biggest place. So I like to look at, it's not population or houses, it's wholesalable houses. In my opinion, if a property is worth anywhere between 50 grand to 600 grand, that is a wholesalable house. You're not wholesaling a $4.5 million San Francisco house, like full house type thing, right? You are wholesaling a house that is on the cheaper side, that is probably distressed. And the biggest amount of these is in Houston, Texas, because it's the biggest population center with just regular homes. That's it. That in Chicago, but a lot of Chicago is a little expensive. What I also look for is what I call the teenage success factor. Everyone loves the age of the internet now. And my favorite thing to do to find good markets is I look for 17 to 18-year-olds on TikTok. I think a lot of us remember being 18. We were dumb. And what happens when you give an 18-year-old a lot of money? They do dumb stuff. I see it with athletes a lot. But so I go on TikTok, I just search make money wholesaling, and on a weekly basis, I find a kid, okay, he is in just a random stupid market where he's born in, he watches one of my videos, and he makes 20 grand in a month. And the first thing he does is gets it wired, goes to the bank, take the 20 grand out, does this Kodak Black money spread, and posts it and says, hey, I made this, you can do it too, buy my course. And you just want to skip those, but you want to see this kid's so dumb, but he made 20 grand. Is it because he's a genius marketer? Or maybe he's just in a really good market and he doesn't know what he's doing. It's kind of like me, right? So Rick's really, really good at fishing. I'm pretty good at fishing, but nowhere near as Rick. But if I go to an area that's got a lot of fish, I'm gonna destroy him because I'm in a better market than him. Doesn't matter how skillful he is, right? If I'm fishing in the Keys and he's fishing in Miami, I'm gonna destroy him because I'm just in a better market. So sometimes if you can mix really good marketing with the market, that's the best way to do it. So example, Detroit, Michigan, right? Detroit, Michigan has a lot of deals. So the population of Detroit's I think 650,000 people. That's insane. And there's a ton of real estate buyers. Actually, I don't think a lot of people know about this about Detroit, but one of the largest areas of Canada, which is Windsor, London area, is right by Detroit. Detroit's actually more north than Canada. It's kind of weird. But a lot of those people don't want to buy real estate in Canada. They don't like the politics, not going to get into it. But houses in London, Ontario are like 500, 600, 700 grand. And you just go 2 miles over there and you got houses for 40 grand. It's crazy. So it's a great deals to saturation ratio. Population 633, average home price $74,000. Whoa. And these aren't like you're living in the hood, right? I mean, there's some, M&M 8 Mile areas, but like overall, these are decent homes. And so I say it's a good market, right? There's a lot of people making money and it's just a big population, right? Now, let's use another example here, okay? Let's use Alexandria, Virginia, DMV area, right? This is by DC. Alexandria, probably one of the most beautiful places in the United States I've ever seen. It is a beautiful area, but there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of buyers, cool. There's not a lot of deals. They are not discounted. They are worth a ton of money. They're worth, a lot of these houses are worth a ton of money. There's a lot of wholesalers. Population 164, the actual city. I think Fairfax County has 1.2 million people in it. Average home price, $647. It's not a good market. Prices are just too high, and there's way too many wholesalers in that area. So what happened? Why is one area better than the other? What I found, 2 factors. Population, that's a big one. So they both have a good population and average home price. Those are the 2 factors I look at. So Alexandria has a good population, but the home price just is way too high. So population is going to be the first factor I see if a market's going to be good or not. So all my virtual wholesalers take note. If a population's high, there's usually a high amount of cash buyers. Real estate is not just a way we can make money in wholesaling, but it's also an investment vehicle. So I have a lot of cash buyers that are heart surgeons, doctors, lawyers, right? Hey, I want to put $300K into real estate, right? I can save on taxes. It's a great thing to do. So you have cash buyers that aren't even cash buyers. You can turn people into cash buyers. With the high population, there's those people buying real estate. The low population, there's low cash buyers. So if I'm in the middle of Missouri, there's going to be not a lot of people looking to buy a house for cash. So that is the main issue. Sweet spot I personally found is for a county, 50,000 to probably 300 is like the good sweet spot. For a county, I like at least 100K, but there are some counties that do work. City-wise, I think 50,000 is good. There are some 20,000 population cities that work, but you want a high population because you want a high amount of people. I kind of said this, if you want to open a pizza shop, you want to have a nice population so you have plenty of customers. You don't want to open up the best pizza shop in the world in the middle of Missouri. You want to open it up in like Kansas City or Orlando, something where like you can get some good traction, right? Median home price is the second thing I look at. The higher the price of a piece of real estate, the harder it is to get a discount. The way I kind of equate this is basically if you're looking to flip cars, right? Who here knows about like the whole like car flipping business, right? People buy cars, they flip them. It's kind of fun, right? It sounds cool, sexy. People like cars. Same thing with real estate. People that flip cars, they are flipping Toyotas, Hellcats, right? They're mid-sized to kind of expensive cars. Nobody really flips a Ferrari. Nobody flips a Lamborghini. It's kind of weird. It's like, why don't they do that? Because if I have somebody who has a $50,000 Dodge Challenger, if I offer him $30,000 for a $50K car, it's not like I'm insulting him. It's like, that seems like in your mind, I don't know why, it doesn't seem insulting. If I have a guy who has a $750,000 Lamborghini Huracan and I offer him 350 grand, he's gonna punch me in the face, right? Why? It's the same discount. Why am I insulting him? Because human beings don't care about percentages. They only care about the price off the discount that they paid for. And the problem is when I sell a car, when I sell a house, there are certain fixed costs. And the problem with fixed cost is you can make a lot more money on flipping something that's cheaper than more expensive. And that's the problem with high prices. If I offer 600 grand to buy somebody's $1 million house, they're not gonna take it. If I offer 60 grand on somebody's $100,000 house, they usually will take that. That's what I find. 2,500 deals. I've tried San Fran, Dallas. I've tried the most expensive real estate in the world. Lower price houses are usually the best. Now, here's the caveat. Lower price, lower assignment fee. I know that hurts, but kind of the cap on wholesaling I found is about 200K on a deal is like the most you're gonna make if you like wholesale it specifically, because you can make 200K on about a $600,000 house, 100K on a $300,000 house, and then 200, you're like 80. That's the max you're gonna be able to make. There are some areas, but sweet spot 75 to 300,000. The cool part though, I found, is the lower the price, the more volume you can do. You can usually do a lot more of these because more people are open to get ring of it for cash. Now, the max I would do is 400K if I was just talking to you guys. I don't do 500K houses. That's pushing it hard. So how do I find the best zip codes and areas? And so I've said this before, but ask your buyers. So I kind of told you the deals, low crime rate, right? Cheaper real estate, but really just ask your buyers. That's the best way to do it. Ask your customers, right, where they're looking to buy. And the cool part about this is if you start talking to cash buyers, they know a lot more than you. So one thing, if you're like 18 watching this, if you're doing a new market, so you're going to Oklahoma City, you know nothing. A guy who's been buying rentals for 25 years in Oklahoma City will have a conversation to you and tell you exactly his 25 years of experience for free because he wants more deals. So just ask him. Ask your title companies. So I tell people, do wholesaling friendly title companies. Find a title company that does wholesaling transactions and ask them, how many wholesaling transactions have you done in a month? Oh, we've done 30. Oh, cool. So that means you've had 30 cash buyers. Wire you checks? Yes. Okay. Well, do you have any buyers? They usually give them to you. Also ask, what are the zip codes of those deals? Oh, I can't give you the buyer, but I can tell you the zip code where it closed. You can get a lot of good intel from a wholesaling title company. Ask the buyers where the rentals are. So you might get a guy who says, oh man, I buy anywhere in Oklahoma. Okay, well, can you tell me the zip codes that you currently own rentals in? Oh, I only own rentals in these 2 zip codes. It's good intel. A lot of people like to talk, they like to buy somewhere, but where are they really buying? When you actually own a house and you actually put your real hard-earned money into the rental, you can't lie about that. Affordable working class houses, like I said, old houses with low crime rates, amazing area. So these are roughly the median home prices per county, Q4 of 2023. So what I'll tell everyone is, everyone's getting a whole slideshow of this, by the way, to be posted in the school community, so you don't have to screenshot this or whatever. But what I'll tell you is the sweet spot in wholesaling is going to be the orange area. So orange is where I'm gonna go after. I don't like yellow, that's just middle of nowhere type stuff. And you're gonna find real estate is like tiny, like this area, not that best. This is where I actually wholesale right here. This is where we're at right here. So we're still in the orange. So orange doesn't tell you the whole story, but you'll find is like, oh man, I'm in Missouri. It's only really gonna work in Springfield over here, Kansas City, and that might be St. Louis, I'm not even too sure. Oh no, these are Quad Cities, amazing market. But basically, I think Quad Cities is up here. Oh Lord. But basically, you'll find that there's certain pockets that work well, right? And we'll see, you know, Houston, Dallas, Austin, area is great. But then you get over here, things get a little nutty. But really, you want to be in the orange or the darker orange. Once you get into purple, it's probably not a good area to be wholesaling. But roughly, we want to stay in the orange category here. Now, pulling a list, it all comes down to 3 categories. When you pull a list, do you want to get a deal? There's only 3 types. There are government lists, there are paid lists, and there are earned lists. Those are the 3 lists. So let's talk about government lists. Government lists are lists you get from the government. I have spent 5 years of my life telling people about government lists and people still don't pull them. It breaks my heart. But it's kind of crazy and it's kind of sad. This is why our success rate is so high. There are millions of people trying to get wholesaling deals, and only people that follow me know about this list and do them. And I feel like it's a secret. I don't know why. I give it for free, but the government is literally going out here and pulling houses that are ugly and just putting them on a list like Santa Claus, and they'll just give you the list for free. It's insane to me. They have the best return on investment, return on the time out of anything possible. This is what you gotta do. And so as a guy who owns X leads, I love X leads, right? It's not the best return on investment because yeah, you can make 30 grand on a $49 a month, but you can make 100 grand off of $0. This is a lot better. And for my virtual people out here, it's the best. It's better than any paid list. And I'll tell everyone with full conviction in my heart, there's not one paid list that is gonna beat a government list. The problem with government lists is they're smaller. That is the main issue. They're not really saturated and they work really well. So let's kind of talk about why government lists work so well versus anything else. It's all about how easy it is to get and it's supply and demand. So it is a lot, when it's really easy to get a list, naturally more wholesalers will pull it. So if I want to go to PropStream and pull a high equity list, anyone can do that. You just got to pay 97. The barrier of entry is like this hard. When it is harder to get a list, less people do it. Shocker. I love fishing, so I use fishing analogies. If there are 10 people fishing in a pond, and there's the same amount of fish in another pond, but no one's fishing in there, you're just gonna do better. That's just how it works. So the harder it is to get a list, usually the better it is. So again, what is the government list? A government list is a free list of potential sellers that have a motivating factor from the government. And the government is paid by us, the taxpayers, so we're actually privy to this information. The United States of America actually passed the Freedom of Information Act, which makes pretty much every government document outside the military public and available to anybody, which is pretty dang cool. So it is our job as citizens of the United States to get this information. So let's kind of talk about code violations. So these are one of my favorite ones. This is code enforcement. And what code enforcement does, if you've never had the privilege of having a violation, is they are just drawing for dollars employees. That is how I look at it in my mind. They get in their car, they look for ugly houses, and once they find an ugly house, they fine you $50 a day until the house isn't ugly anymore. So they're causing financial stress, they're driving around looking for houses, and if it's not part of the code, they will literally find the person, and then they have it on a list and they'll give you the list. It's insane. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Code enforcement levies $10 to $50 a day fines for not fixing the code violation. I actively, on a daily basis, so we did this, I think a month ago, we dealt with a seller who had a $6,000 code enforcement penalty. Like they had $6,000 of code enforcement penalties for not paying. And the cool part about code enforcement is I know how to negotiate with them, and you can cut them down to $2,000 or $3,000. A realtor would never do that. So it's an amazing list to get, and you can pull it pretty much for free. So you just go to your local code enforcement office, they're called neighborhood services, whatever, and just request a copy of all open code violations. Now, half of this room, they're gonna do that and they're gonna get it. The other half of the room, they're gonna act like you just asked for like secret intel of CIA secrets on Russia, and it's private world-class information and they can't give it to you, which is kind of funny to me. What you need to do is just keep asking, and eventually they'll give it to you. The coolest part about that is when they decide they don't want to give it to you, that means every wholesaler that goes and tries it, they say no, they walk away. You can be a person who's the only person who gets code violations in your market. It's insane. So what you do is go to code enforcement, ask, give me a list of everyone that has tall grass, violations for structural damage, violations for mold on the property, and also they have broken windows, they have a lot of stuff, but make sure it's for residential houses only. The list for a month is probably gonna be 200 or 300. Make a lot of money doing that list. On top of this too, we have there we go. The next one's water shutoffs. So I don't want to rant about this too much, but has anybody here ever went camping? Raise your hand if you went camping. Okay. Is it fun when you go number 2 camping? No. Why? There's no running water. So there are properties where there's no running water. It is not fun. You're not having a good time. You probably don't want to be living there. And so it's kind of weird. It's like you can get a list of every house that doesn't have running water. Why isn't the water running on the house? Because no one's paying the water bill. When you don't pay the water bill, the water doesn't come anymore. And usually no one's living in there. That is a filthy way to live. And so these are basically just vacant, abandoned houses. So you can actually go to the water department and say, hey, give me a list of all the houses that aren't paying their water bill, and you turn the water off. They're usually like, yeah, we'll give it to you. And heck, call them and tell them to pay the bill. It's great. No running water, no fun. There's a list of people that just don't have any running water. And just, hey, can I get a list of all the properties that have their water shut off due to non-payment of the utility bill? Just go to the utility department and you can pull it. So go to local utility department, make sure they're government owned. Some are privately owned by a corporation. There's no way you're getting that list because it's a private company, but most of them are public and you can get their information right there. Next one, fire damaged properties. I'm not trying to run through this, but like there's just so many ways to get lists and get wholesaling deals. But a house that went on fire, the most houses that go on fire, everyone imagine in their mind the whole house goes in flames. It's not. Most home fires are from the kitchen and from the bathroom. And usually only that area is destroyed. And so they get a little insurance check, they're good to go, and you can wholesale it. Heck, it's like wholesaling land. So go to the fire department and do it. Does anybody here have any family members that are firefighters? Raise your hand. It's even better. If you have a friend or family that's in the fire department that you're in, go to their records department and you can get that information. And it's not illegal. Like you're paying for their salaries, and so you need to know where they're doing. Heck, there are people who, they're called police scan. Have you heard of like a police scanner Facebook group or a police scanner guys or a fire department? You can actually get the scanner of where the fire department goes on. I'm not trying to be that type of guy, but they'll tell like, I don't know how to say it right, like 401 going to 123 Main Avenue, house on fire. Maybe go contact the owner after. Maybe he wants to get rid of the house, right? And the one thing about it too is a lot of people, I've never been in a house that caught on fire, but I can only imagine from the stories, it's a little traumatizing being in that house. I've had a lot of sellers where somebody like broke in their home and they're traumatized. They just want to go somewhere else. They don't want to tell you that, but they just want to get rid of it and they don't want to make it public and they don't want a scene. It's a great area to do. Arrest records is another one. So I think a lot of people think once you get arrested, you're banished, you're a terrible person, and off away from society you go. I think a lot of like these TV shows make it seem like every single person's a murderer. They get arrested. It's not. Most people that get arrested, it's for usually non-violent crimes, DUIs, maybe drugs, bad things, right? And people have situations. It's not good. I don't promote that. I don't think it's all good. But these people are still human beings. They're innocent until proven guilty. And for some of them, they're going away for a while. I've had a story of one guy. He got arrested for having a pound of cocaine in his car. And he thought he was getting away free. And then his lawyer told him that you can't get out of that. And he was looking at like 5 or 6 years. And so he had a choice. He had a $250,000 house. Does he just leave it there for 6 years, or does he give the property to me and I buy it for quick cash and he gets cash so he can use commissary? It's not really said too much about how the prison system works, but in most states, you have to pay for things like toilet paper and soap, which is kind of weird. Not a lot of people know that until you actually go to prison. And they're really expensive. And they don't feed you a lot, you gotta use, so you need money. And if you have a house, which is like a bank account to them, and you're going away for 6, 7 years, you're gonna need that money. And I've wholesaled a lot of arrest records. I've actually wholesaled a house from a guy on death row once, all through pen and paper with power of attorney. Kind of funny. He's not here with us anymore, but you know what? The money didn't go to him, it went to a relative, so whatever. But basically, how to pull the arrest record list, just go to the sheriff's website, the records department, and just ask, hey, can I get a list of all the people that have been arrested for the past 7 to 14 days? Now, 80% of these people don't own real estate. What you want to find is the guy on his second or third DUI that owns a $300,000 house that is going to go away. And he's like, okay, I just got to sell the house. Lawyers are really expensive, and they just get rid of it. They're good to go. Tax liens, tax delinquencies. A lot of people don't pay their property taxes. Heck, a lot of young people that buy a house don't even know they have to pay their taxes because they're young. And you can just contact people that aren't paying their property taxes. So we're in October right now. In the state of Florida, a lot of property taxes are due in November. And a lot of people are on their second year of not paying taxes. And these people are behind or they don't have the money to pay them. And so you actually pull them pretty easy. So you just go to the tax collector for the property and hey, give me a list of everyone that isn't paying their property taxes, and they give it to you. It's a great list. Bonus, the property appraiser sometimes has the information too. Then they'll put a lien on the property for not paying their property taxes, and when you're not paying your property taxes, you're usually not taking care of other things, and it's a great one to do. Again, another government list that I absolutely love are what we call pre-foreclosures. This is a list of people not paying their mortgage. So if you're not paying your mortgage payments, usually after about 100, 120 days, the bank's like, okay, well, we're gonna follow list pendants and we are gonna take the property back. And then they're like, oh, I guess I gotta sell the house. These are one of the most motivated sellers because the bank is going to auction off the property in the next month or two if you don't do anything. Most people don't do anything, and you're at behest to the bank of how much you're getting for it. So a lot of these sellers are a pain in the butt to talk to. You cannot cold call them. You can only usually text them. But once you text them, they usually answer, they can do well. So go to public records, search for what we call list pendants. Under the notice of default section, go in person, and you're able to get these list of pre-foreclosures. The problem is a lot of paid lists have pre-foreclosures, so they're sometimes not the best. But one of the biggest secrets that I found is X-Leads gets their data from the top wholesaling software. We get the same one. I'm not going to mention that one. But basically, we get the same one. And some markets, because we just pull it from the county, they're about 30 to 60 days late. So if you pull the list pendants that's pulled like right now, like today, you're able to get that list 30 days before anybody else on any other software. So you get the jump on it. Again, lien list, people not paying their IRS taxes, people behind on the credit cards, you get a list of that too. People that tell me that there's not enough lists to pull, it goes on and on. And so lien list, get the divorce list too. People that are filing divorce, you can do this. Not my favorite list, but it is one to pull. Public records online, go to divorce filings, you're good to go. Next here, the eviction list. This is different than a tired landlord list, right? So my favorite thing to do is a guy that owns 4 rental properties and he's on his 10th eviction and he's just done with it. He's gonna just put all the money in stocks and be done with it, right? And a guy that does not know how to deal with a good tenant and they only have bad tenants, it's a nightmare. They want to get rid of the house. I have found a lot of deals where guys like, okay, just let me liquidate all 5 houses. Let me get rid of it. And it's not fun. I once had a tenant where, I don't know how this is possible, but she ate chicken wings every day. And she put she ate the chicken wings and just put it on the carpet and she didn't clean it up. And that was one of the nastiest cleanups I've ever had in my life. And it was bad. And so people are weird. And they're always doing weird stuff. I once had a tenant, which a nice, awesome young couple. They have great jobs, they're great. And guy decides, I'm just gonna cheat on my girlfriend. What could happen? And it's like that Carrie Underwood song, right? Before he cheats. And she decided to take it out on me. And she punched 150 holes in my house, every room, to get back at him. Because she thought he owned the house or something, I don't know. And that was one of the worst properties I ever deal with. I have a lot of wholesale deals where that happens. So fun fact, if a house has a bunch of holes, it's usually a bad dude. But yeah, tired landlords, it happens. And so get a list of evictions. If you're paying a lawyer $2,000 to evict the lady or the guy, it's great. So go to public records, go to the search tab, go to the eviction filings and say, hey, I'm looking to buy more rentals in the area. Oh my God, you are? Let me get rid of mine. It's a great area to do it. Again, probates, I think we've talked about probates a lot today, but people that pass away, you deal with the person's will, estate, property, things. It's basically the court proceeding. Go to public records, online, search probate filings. You're gonna go, PPS 3.0 is in school, so it's in the classroom, so the whole breakdown's in there so you can see it. It's one of the best ways to find wholesaling real estate deals. But really my script is, hey, I'm a private citizen doing private research and I'm here to pull the code violations for the past 30 days. That's what I'm looking to do. My best tactic that I have found is if I go in with like a college hat, people think I'm a college student and I'm pulling it for a college project. That's the best thing I can do. Overall, Rick says this, overcome resistance with persistence. That's the best way to do it. Usually, if they don't give you the list, that's really good. That means every person usually just gives up and you just gotta keep going. Now, again, what if they don't give you the list? Good. The harder it is to get a list, the better. Explain to your tax-paying citizen doing independent research, speak to the manager or file what we call a FOIA Act or Freedom of Information Act request, which basically means if they don't give you the list, they are actually breaking federal law and they will lose their jobs. Once threatened of their cushy government job gets threatened, they will give it to you. I promise you that. Now, the next part here is what we call paid lists. So these are lists you get basically from like X leads, right? These are lists you can pay for with the software. Again, these are less quality, but there's just more volume, right? So government lists are way easier to pull, they're less money. These cost a lot more money, but there's still ways to get deals. So paid softwares, my opinion, X-Leads is the best wholesaling software, period. I think anybody here that went to the X-Leads Mastermind, seeing what version 2 is, it kind of blows everything out of the water. But what I'll tell you is probably the best list you can get from X-Leads is our AI stack list, which basically pulls tired landlords, probates, pre-foreclosures. A lot of those, it pulls people that own rentals for a while, active investors, stack them up, and it gets a little score. It's about 300 or 400 properties. It's one of my favorite ones right now. Other softwares do work. So I'm telling you, I'm not here to tell you X-Leads is the best and everything else sucks. They're all pretty good. I don't think they're all gonna be bad at all. So you can use whatever you want. But if you are pulling a software, I'll tell you high equity is one of my favorite ones. I've been telling anyone here that has high volume, there's really no point even pulling code violations anymore because if you pull every high equity, it's a deal. If somebody has at least 30% equity, you can make money on the deal. Vacant properties are my favorite ones. So you can't get this from the post office. They say you have to be a nonprofit organization to get this. I have to spend a lot of money to get this information for X-Leads, but if you have a software, you can do that. Heck, X-Leads has 60,000 exports, so there's probably somebody in here that can probably pull a vacant list for you if you don't have the money for the software. You can use AI stack list, 700 score. Tired landlords are an amazing one. These are people that own multiple properties, but they owned it for a while. It's a good one to do. Tax delinquencies, and then stack lists again for any paid list. But any of these lists are gonna get you wholesaling deals. That's it, high equity, okay, I already did that one. What in the world? Here are the filters that I use when I use this software. Number one, I like 55 to 60% equity. That is by far the best filtering for any good deal. If you really look at basically how much somebody owes versus the value of the property. You want them to own it for at least 3 to 5 years. Statistically, most good deals, if they've owned it for a year or two, it's not a good deal. Yeah, that's loan to value. So you want the max loan to value to be 35 to 40% max on there. But then you pull equities on there, so that's how we basically pull it on there, but good catch. And then exclude active investor owned, so in X-Leads you can actually do that. No corporates or LLCs owning the property, you don't want that. And then just make sure it's single family, duplex, or triplex. No MLS, no on-market properties. Get rid of those are not good deals, okay? Make sure it's under your median home price. So if you use a software, just make sure the max home price is 400 or 500 grand. Don't go anything above that, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, the next type of list we can pull to get wholesaling deals are what we call earned lists. So there's government lists that anyone can pull. There are paid lists that anybody can pull, but earned lists are lists you have to earn. It is never a given list. So I can go and pull a probate, it is given to me. I can go pay for a software and get a list. This is a list that you can't buy, you have to earn. That's why we call them earned lists. So you actually have to earn them. Okay, so mostly this is drawing for dollars and reverse drawing for dollars. These are one of my favorite ways to get deals, but pretty much drawing for dollars. Get in your car, look for an ugly house. Anyone here that drove here, you probably saw a couple ugly houses. That's it, tall grass, anything that makes it look ugly, you're good to go. Reverse drawing for dollars, one of my personal favorite things to do. Literally all you do is you just find an ugly house. I had this epiphany one day where I was door knocking. I hate door knocking. I love cold calling, I hate door knocking. And what I did was I had sticky notes and I just said, hey, this is Zach. I had a quick question about your house. Please give me a call back. Because I did not want to spend 45 cents on a postcard because the software had like a 45-cent postcard. Because I was doing 100 of them. I'm like, I don't want to spend 40 bucks today. And so I just put it on the door. And I found a 30% response rate, which is 30x better than any direct mail you'll get. So that's all you do, reverse drawing for dollars. Hey, this is Zach, I had a quick question about your property. What is it? Who is this? What does he want? They'll always call you back. No skip tracing involved on that one, and they always call you back. You can also drive around a list, like a pre-foreclosure list, like, you know, be like a delivery dudes or like Uber Eats guy, and just drive to their house, put a sticky note, go to the next one. You'll do really well with this. Again, once you get all these lists, you pull them, you can organize them in Google Sheets, Excel format. We got some cool templates in Flipboard Plus in the classroom, you're good to go. And then again, skip tracing, right? So skip tracing is an important part of getting somebody's phone number. If you want to get somebody's phone number, I'll show you here. Basically, my favorite one is cyberbackgroundchecks.com. It's probably one of the most lethal ways to get anyone's phone number. The reason I found this website, again, was people started calling me. And I thought that was really weird. I'm like, how do you have my phone number? Like, I'm on no paid software. I've done really hard work to do it. And then people started texting me like, hey, you have a really cool house. I'm like, how do people know where I live? And I'm like, I gotta get somewhere else. And Cyber Background Checks had my name, it had my house, and it had my phone number. Oh boy, that was a little scary. And the first thing I did was I removed all my info from Cyber Background Checks, and then I started telling people about it because it's scary. Like, if you don't know about this, your address and your phone number's on there. It's crazy to me. So TrueBeal Search really good too, but it didn't have my personal information. Cyber Background Checks does. So first thing I'll tell everyone, go to this website, remove your information. There's a remove my info on the bottom, and then start using it. And then you're pretty much good to go. I don't get into this, but one thing I do is when I see a kid who creates a wholesaling course, I think we talked about somebody in Flipboard Plus now has a $6,000 course teaching my thing. First thing I do is go to Cyber Background Checks. I'm like, let me see, and he lives with his mom. But I don't want to break it down, but that website will, I call it the guru killer because these kids have courses, they live with their mom, and it's all in there. But yeah, White Pages is a good one. You can actually DM your sellers. So a lot of people have like, this house has been abandoned across my street for 4 years. DM the seller if you can't get the phone number. Do whatever you can. Then from there, marketing channels. And so now we know how to pull a list, how we reach out to these sellers. Marketing channels are basically the way we reach out. So I can't really use a gun example, right? I kind of use the gun and ammo, but maybe it's the bow and the string, right? Maybe that's the better way to do it. If you have a bow and it breaks, you're not going to do anything. If you have a terrible arrow, it's not going to fly well. You kind of need both to make it work. So marketing channels don't work with bad lists, and good lists don't work with bad marketing channels. That is how it works. So let's talk about every single channel to find a wholesaling real estate deal. There are currently, I believe, 15 ways to get a wholesaling deal. You can cold call the seller, you can put a sticky note on the house, you can give them a text, you can send them a piece of direct mail, you can run Facebook ads, you can door knock, you can post a digital bandit sign, you can put a bandit sign, like a physical bandit sign, you can do SEO, you can try that if you want, you can do a pay-per-click type thing on Google, you get a referral realtor, you can JV with somebody, you can do a radio or TV ad, heck, you can do a billboard, or you can go out here and, still before it's illegal, you can do a PPL company. These are currently the 15 ways to get a wholesaling deal. That's pretty much it. Does anybody have anything else? Let's brainstorm here. I don't really know many other ways to get a deal outside of this. Now, be a little shocking, but pretty much only 8 really work anymore. That's the main issue. Let's talk about Facebook ads. I don't know really many people that actually get a real ROI on their Facebook ads. Anyone that tells you Facebook ads work usually sells a course on Facebook ads. There's really no one organically, I'm killing it on Facebook. It doesn't work anymore. It's too saturated. The issue is Facebook ads used to work when not a lot of people, only like digital marketers did them. Now Coke, Apple, Spotify, they went in and it's a bidding system. So now when the big corporations get into it, it's saturated. Door knocking is not fun. I think if you door knock a lot, especially in Florida, because Florida people are crazy. They'll threaten you. They'll try to beat you. They'll say, I'm gonna beat you up. I've had pit bulls launched at me. It's not fun. SEO seems like it's cheap. Some of the best SEO guys are paying $6 to $7 grand to actually get some good traction. And Google changed their algorithm in like that, and boom, your whole $6,000 SEO site doesn't work. 10 PPC. PPCs are roughly $100 a lead, $200 a lead. I think I was explaining yesterday, the problem with PPC is when you put, how do I sell my house in Orlando? What they do is they click yours, they'll click the second guy and the third guy. You spend $100 for a lead that the lady's already talking to 4 people. Not worth it, and not fun to do. Same thing with PPL, by the way, but you're paying $300 a lead, and that's actually gonna be illegal soon. Radio, TV ads, we've done a ton of them. We've had a good ROI, doesn't work. Billboards, get out of here. And really, those don't work. I hate to tell you. So let's focus on, and then JVing too. But let's kind of focus on the 9 that actually do work, okay? Now, I'm not getting a whole 2-hour cold calling example because we're gonna do some live cold calling today, but that's my favorite thing. By far, the best way to gain confidence, gain skills, and actually have good conversations with sellers with conviction in your heart is by cold calling. That's the best way. So if anybody here has ever done like a combat sport, you can go study it, you can read a book on how to punch a guy, but the best way to learn how to punch somebody is by punching a guy, right? If you ever punch a bag, it works, but unless you actually get in the ring, it's just a lot different. Same thing with football, they call it reps, right? You can't really read a book on how to shoot a 3-pointer. Like, you just gotta do it. And so cold calling is one of my favorite ways. You just gotta do it. Number 2, reverse trying for dollars. This is like direct mail. You can make a lot of money doing direct mail. The problem is direct mail is expensive. These things are free. One of my favorite ways to do it. Number 3 here, SMS text blasting. You can text blast for free on Google. It's actually completely free to do. You can send direct mail, which is a little more expensive. Door knocking, I don't know why that's on there, but no door knocking. Don't do it. So it is 8, all right. Digital bandit signs, I've coined this now reverse Facebook hacking because people don't like the word digital bandit sign. Just post on a Facebook group with 50,000 people. The best example I use is if you live in Louisiana and like you're wholesaling in there, get your little Drew Brees jersey, post a selfie and say, hey Saints Nation, what's going on? This is Zach Ginn, love the Saints. And if you want to sell your house, contact me. Go Saints, right? You can do that. Like, it's not even a joke, but like, people are like, oh, this guy has a Saints jersey. He's cool. I like people that like Dolphins jerseys, right? Like, people are weird. It's a great way to do it. One of my favorite things to do, I've been telling everyone, is you go to Gemini AI. So I actually am a big Florida Gators fan. And so I hate Georgia Bulldogs, like that whole team. But I do deals in Athens, right? I do deals in that area. So one thing I do is I will go to Gemini AI and I'll say, make a picture of a bulldog, right? With a black football jersey, holding a sign that says, I buy houses. Because I never put on a Georgia Bulldogs jersey. And guess what it does? It has a picture of Uga with a little sign that says, I buy houses cash with my phone number. People love that stuff. They think I dressed up my dog in a jersey that says I buy houses. And I infiltrate like that. It's one of the best ways to do it. And you can do it for any Saints jerseys, basketball teams, anything. It's really sneaky. It's amazing. You put regular bandit signs out. So I got my first 100K wholesaling. It's hit or miss. Realtors are great if you have the relationships with them. I'm not getting a whole like realtor talk today, but realtors will provide you deals. They're better for buyers than anything. And then, like I said, JVing. Who here has done a JV deal with a Flipboard Plus member? Like Flipboard Plus guys. So you've done a deal, like there's a lot of ways to make money here. And the cool part is if you do a deal with me, you get Flipboard Plus for free. So a lot of people not here, they don't pay to come here, they come here just to come here, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So JVing is a great one. So we're about to hit lunch. So what I want to do is just have a quick Q&A on anything I just said really quick, and we can talk. So yeah, no, so subject to is when you don't have a lot of equity. So doing a subject to on a dead guy's deed is really cool, and I like that. But when they have a lot of equity, you want to make 120 grand. So the problem with the subject to is if a guy owns a house free and clear, you can't subject to. Let's say the house, they owe 100 grand and it's worth 200 grand. Here's how subject to works. You give him 100 grand up front. Do you have 100 grand up front to give him? No. And what if the due on sale clause happens? Not fun. So I only like doing subject twos 25 grand or less. I know those guys that say subject to is 50, 60 grand. It's not fun giving a guy 60 grand for a house that can just have a due on sale clause on it. And so that's the way I look at it. Other questions? So usually when I found marketing, does anybody know what's the minimum I say of how much hours you should put in your marketing to do a deal?